Country 550 and 92.9 WAME, Statesville, Real Country.
Welcome to Racing Roots with Ham.
If you don't know our host, David Ham, he's a 25-year NASCAR veteran, engine builder, and jackman.
Live every Monday evening, we have a new guest
From the racing world with their stories, their paths,
Their racing
roots. Now here's our host, David Ham.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to Racing Roots with Ham. And I hope y'all had a great day. It's been a beautiful, hot, warm, southern, sunny, hot, humid. That's the words I'm looking for.
A beautiful day in the North Carolina weather, right?
Yes, the humidity is finally, it hit us, and it's we're right from winter into summer, it seemed. But we got a good show lined up for you today. We got our good friend Joe Dan Bailey has come back. He actually came back to see us. I mean, we didn't scare you off the first time.
No. Yeah, it was all good. Yet the drag marks from when y'all drug me in here, they'll heal eventually. And you locked the door behind me, so now I'm stuck.
That's right.
We told you not to mention all of that stuff.
Yes.
So this is going to knock the balance down from the $100 I owe you to $80 now, right?
Okay. We can work a deal, something like that. Yes. Yes, and of course we got Bryson in with us. Bryson Davis.
Yeah, how you doing, buddy? It's
doing good.
Good to see you.
Good to see you
Yes,
too.
sir. Yeah.
How's the hockey world?
Oh, hockey world's slow right now, but
Is it okay?
Well, I mean it's really hot outside.
Yes.
But up in Canada, I'm sure they're still playing it somewhere.
Did you say A?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
But no, it's good. This is a fun time for hockey because a lot of trades and stuff happen this time of year. So,
okay.
Yeah, I'm excited. I was actually just talking about this. I'm looking forward to it coming back. It'll come back around September. They'll do the preseason stuff. But it's going to be good if you're a Carolina Hurricanes fan. It's an exciting time.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Well, I guess it shows you how much I pay attention because I didn't realize they weren't playing.
Well, and the hockey world doesn't get the exposure that the NFL does. If somebody gets traded, everybody knows Aaron Rodgers went to the Jets. That kind of thing. But when trades happen in hockey, they're kind of under the table and just kind of,
Man, when did he go to the Jets?
Okay, well, maybe not everybody knows, but
I'm just kidding.
That's a new thing too.
But
anyway.
I guess I kind of.
Yeah.
Hey, and last but not least, my wife Tracy. What'd you do to your head there?
It's oil for my migraine.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. No, you don't have a migraine, do you? Mm-hmm. Well, that's just great. She's hiding it well, because normally it's my fault though, probably because I was back there. Because I said you weren't listening earlier when they were talking, and I said she does that very well.
I heard you.
She wasn't listening to us talking right in front of her, but you were on the other side of the room, and she heard you fine.
She
I
did.
was balancing my checkbook while you were talking, so
All right.
Hey, there you go.
I had to concentrate.
She kept her ears open for you. That's right. I mean, we were right here in front of her.
Yes, imagine that.
It's okay.
Hey,
That's because your voice just rings in my head.
It does. Yeah, it's the right frequency.
Yeah.
We were talking about Gail Wilson just a little bit ago. I was showing you a little video. He actually is having triple bypass surgery tomorrow.
Oh, no.
Keep him in our prayers there.
Yeah, for sure. Because Richard Bosick called me this morning, talked to him for a little bit, and he asked me about him. And I said, I haven't heard anything about it. So I texted him, and then I texted his son-in-law, and then he got back with me and said it's tomorrow. So, yeah. But I told him we would say prayers for him.
Yeah, well, in the morning I meet with the F3 group here local, and we always mention local people that we know that are going through something, and so we'll bring that up in the Circle Trust tomorrow morning. Go Wilson, the Bandit.
The Bandit, that's right.
Yeah,
Legendary.
awesome. Yeah.
Yes, and that's like I said, Richard Bosick called. He's another legendary truck driver, and of course the truck drivers always were close because they ended up convoying together, following each other to the West Coast and such. Yeah, good stuff. And also prayers to our buddy Scott Trevison. He's had a few issues lately, and but he got some good news the other day. So he's the beer man, the original Coors Light beer man.
Yeah.
So yeah, one of our good friends.
And we'll see him next week.
That's right. We'll be down in Daytona area. So if anybody has any requests, you want us to go by and wave to Daytona International Speedway for you, we'll do that.
You've been going to Daytona a lot. What y'all doing? Just chilling?
So I have timeshare, and that's one of the places we can use.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah.
Yep.
We like it. We like it down there.
Absolutely.
We like the West Coast is the beaches are a little bit nicer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we like the area.
It's longer to
Daytona.
get there.
And we got our friends there too. So
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
And yes, it takes like 12 hours. It seems 12 hours to get over to the Gulf Coast versus Daytona. A lot closer.
And you just catch a flight.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. That's what she said. Well, next time we're going to fly.
Allegiant flies out. You just have to go on their schedule. So
They need to go on my schedule.
they don't.
No, maybe not.
They
That's
have
not the
one
way it
flight a
works.
day. That's it.
Yeah, not the way it works.
Yeah.
I was joking, of course. All right.
When I got to mention this,
yeah,
sorry, but
sure.
I didn't know you was a hockey guy. So
Oh, yeah.
a lot of us went with Carolina, being a Carolina fan, went to see Carolina and the Golden Knights when we were in Vegas this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were playing against each other.
Yeah.
So when it come down to the semifinals, getting ready, I was chilling,
Yeah.
cheering for naturally the Hurricane because I wanted to see a final matchup of the game that I seen earlier in the year.
That would be cool.
Yeah, Cole Arena out in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's more of just from what I've seen on TV, they really put a show on outside the hocky game. You know,
absolutely.
It's like you come to a Vegas show and by the way, there's a hockey game.
Oh yeah,
you know?
they had the girls out there. They had
Yeah.
the feathers and the topless and all that stuff. Then they had the cheerleaders also. You know, but they were just in the stands, the topless girls.
I think out of the whole NHL.
Oh, yeah.
I hear you. Yeah.
You're slow, but you're consistent.
There you go. I didn't pick up on that right away. I got you now.
Yes,
sounds like we need to take
that
a
at
racing rich vacation and watch a hockey game in Vegas. That would be real good. Yeah.
I've seen that at a wrestling match. After the match was over with, I was hanging out with my son still, and we're like, "Oh, they're getting ready to do some stuff and then the wrestlers started doing like pulling up their shirts or whatever. Well, they didn't have shirts, whatever, doing the motion, and then there was girls in the audience, and then they were putting the big cameras on them. I was like, son, I guess it's okay to look, because
right. What are you gonna do,
we're going
right?
to see it eventually anyway. But
That reminds me of a couple Sterling Marlin stories that I've heard.
oh yes,
Told by your friends and people we've had on over the years.
yeah.
But I've heard.
Sterling, really?
Oh no,
No, not him. No, he would never.
Yeah.
I think the one that I think about was at Martinsville. There was a rain delay or something. They had the grandstands on the backstretch, and I can't remember who it was. Maybe Scott was telling this. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Who it was, but anyway.
He said, watch his.
Yeah, he goes to the back. The garage is on the backstretch, and they had the grandstands. Now they got banners on them, but at the time, I guess it was packed out. And he said, come over here, watch this to Scott or whoever. And he goes, does the motion, and he said, next thing you know, there's policemen escorting some ladies out, and different things going on, and Sterling's just sitting there laughing. And
Yeah.
But that's funny.
How about
Can't
that?
say I've
Brought the
never done
NASCAR
that.
environment to a hockey game, huh?
Mm-hmm,
I would
yeah.
have never done that.
Wasn't it? Was Joe Dan? Were you telling us a story about being at Dover and or you were telling somebody that maybe it's one of the shows, and the guys how with their cards.
Yeah, so we used to have the signboards.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dover 500-mile race. It's a 5-hour show.
This is Mike.
Okay.
Get a little bit closer to you. There you go. That's better.
Anyway,
Yeah.
So we're at Dover. It's a 5-hour show. And in between green flag stops, it takes forever.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I'm sitting there, and we look up at the grandstands on the other side, and there's this girl, and she's pointing her fingers up, and then she's pointing her fingers down, and then she'll point her fingers up again, and then up, and then she'll go, yeah, like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm sitting there and I'm watching this and trying to figure out what's going on. Once again, I'm slow also, Bryson. So anyway, finally, after she does that a couple of times, I pay attention, and the guys over here on this team next to us have a chalkboard, and they're writing numbers on there, and she's telling them high or low. So it goes on with this for a good while. Come to find out, they're getting her phone number. So when we go back from the spring race, this girl that we've seen over there, now I see her in the garage area with this group of guys. They got her phone number during a race by doing the chalkboard of going higher or lower, writing it down, then wrote it, called her for to come back to the next race, and did that.
How about that?
Yeah, and there was, you talking about your Martinsville. When I worked for senior, we always had that number one pit. When you're the champion, you get that number one pit. So we're at Martinsville, and we're on a long run there, and there was a lady over in the stands, and every time Dale would come by, she'd raise her top. She sat there and did that for 100 laps, and nobody said anything to her.
How
They were
about
watching
that?
the race. Yeah, it was quite a bit different back then. So.
Yeah, different times.
Yeah, which was inappropriate, and I don't approve of it.
That's right. You don't. Definitely
Me
don't do
neither.
that. Yeah.
Me neither.
Yeah, I remember being in the bus, leaving the parking lot, and boys will be boys and all that, and doing kind of the same thing, holding up
Yeah.
a sign,
Well,
whatever.
Shoot your shot, man.
That's
Get her
right.
phone number, even if it's in the middle of a 500-mile race.
All right, so yeah, that's it. So if y'all don't remember, Joe Dan's been on with us. He was on back in January, And this is before you went to was it 24-hour race you were going to?
Yeah, I went to the 24-hour race this year. I've never been a race fan before. Let me rephrase that. On Sundays, sitting at home, or on Saturdays, sitting there in the hotel room back when they had Thursday Night Thunder, loved watching them. Okay, I love watching them on TV. Never been in the infield before. And anyway, so I reserved a spot in Daytona in the infield. Took me a couple of years to get it. It's a really hard ticket to get.
Oh, okay.
Extremely hard. So anyway, I got it finally, and rented a motorhome, went down there, got it, and that was incredible. Absolutely amazing being the whole fan experience. And what drew me to it is I don't sleep well at night. So the thought of being able to wake up at 2 in the morning and going outside and seeing race cars on the track, I was just so intrigued by that. I was like, this is gonna be so cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, I did that. Stoney Ballard, that's been on here before, he come over and spent a day with me. David Koenig, my buddy from back in Pearland, he spent a day, and my son and my daughter-in-law, Kaylee and Daniel, both of them, they come down for the weekend. And it was great. I had a grill out there. Everybody, the people around us were super. This group over here is a bunch of geeks. They had an old, when I say geeks, I'm talking about like me geeks.
Yeah, I got you.
So they had an old city bus, and it had solar panels on the roof from the front to the back, except for a little deck back there. You go inside the bus, they open it up, and they have all these monitors and all these computers. They're running their stuff off of all their equipment off the solar panels up top. And it was just decked out watching the race and just doing all kind of stuff.
Like a podcast or something?
No, they might have been bootlegging some stuff out of there that they shouldn't have been.
Oh, got you, yes.
Okay. There was a lot of data going on, not that I was paying attention to, but I'm not sure who they were hacking into or not. I didn't go in there, but it was very cool to do that. I stayed up till 2 in the morning. Watching the race. I wanted to wake up at 2. I ended up staying up till 2. Next morning, I got up and got up right before sunrise. My son had already got up and made a pot of coffee, or had the coffee going, and he was standing out there watching it. So I had a cup of coffee with him, then put on my shorts and took off for a run. Ran into the garage area, stopped by the Lexus group, which is our support group, and talked to those guys a little bit, see how they were doing. We run 2 Lexus GTD Pro and GTD, which is a class. And anyway, left there, went through the tunnel, went up in the grandstands. Well, in the morning, the grandstands looked like it's empty. So, and it was beautiful weather down there. So anyway, I go off in the turn 4 area up the grandstands, run up the grandstands. As I'm running, I'm looking to the left, and there's people in the grandstands. They just took their sleeping bag and laid down in the grandstands. So I go all the way to the top, and I'm running across the top, and I'm just dodging people left and right because the place is full of people. And I went all the way to turn 4, watch a sunrise coming up over the back straightaway, which beautiful Daytona sunrise. And I know why y'all go down there. Anyway, I was just amazed at how many people were still there. Probably the most awkward part of it, the whole deal, was I think it was Friday morning. The crews were coming in, and you were talking to me a minute ago about the experience of being a fan. So I'm out behind my camper. I got a coffee going. It's probably about 7 in the morning. The sun's up, and I'm out there in a pair of shorts, flip-flop, T-shirt, just enjoying my coffee. And the trams are coming through, bringing all the crew members in, right? And it was almost like that movie with the Kevin Costner movie, Build It, They Will Come, where he has to step over the line. Field of Dreams,
yes.
right? Because I'm standing there next to the white line where the crews are coming in, and finally I just go and I put my toe over the line because I'm like, is this gonna hurt? Is it gonna suck me in? Am I gonna be done for the day? And anyway, it was just funny because, and I admire those guys to work that 24-hour race that is a monster. They don't get to, they take naps and stuff like that. It is brutal because they're actually up for 36. So anyway, if you could ever do the 24, if you can ever go to an infield, do you see the infield at Pocono? Did y'all see that?
It was pretty full, wasn't it?
It was packed.
Yeah.
I mean, since they've taken and went from 2 races to 1, and everybody says, oh, the racing's terrible now. It's not like it used to be. I ain't never seen Pocono like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It was incredible. When we go to just about everywhere we go right now, the infield's great. California infield, is great. Naturally Michigan coming up. That's a monster. Those people, I don't even know if they know a race is going on. It's like their 1 week of summer, and they're just up there partying.
Oh, yeah, party time. Yeah, for sure.
So anyway, it was the 24 hours is a great event, but it's really made me admire the people that come in and do the infield and camp and all that. When when COVID came and the infields were empty, it was really awkward of coming in and I used my rent-a-car as a golf cart. You drove back and forth from the bus to the garage area because nobody's in there. And the first time that I think Daytona was the first time that they let the back straightaway and 3 and 4 have fans in it when we came back. And that night when I left after we were there a late night for something. And anyway, it was late at night. The garage was closed, so maybe I had to finish up some work. And I drove down through. I had my windows up, so it wasn't nothing. But I drove down through there just to see the fans because you missed them that much. So it's great having the fans back.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Pocono's really good about fans and letting them come down pit road and all before the race.
Yeah.
Always has been that good.
Yeah, they have that alley right there where you can autograph alley is what they call it. So they actually have a chain link fence up, but they have holes in the fence, and the drivers are really good about coming by and stopping, and they'll go from one end of it. It's probably about 20 foot long. The areas, and the fans will sit there. They'll waffle belly up and get their bellies all against the chain link fence just to get to them.
Yeah.
But the guys are really good about going over there and signing autographs and everything. It made me think about it. We were talking about it the other day. The fans at Pocono are crazy. Do you remember when the guy ran across the racetrack?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
You've seen that?
Yeah, I've seen it. I don't remember it. I've seen it.
Yeah.
Some cat, and they were showing on the broadcast, they were showing the swamp behind the straightaway over there, and that's where they found that guy. He ended up, he ran across the racetrack. So they just had a green flag restart. They're going into one. Somebody jumps the fence, goes and runs across the racetrack. When they're coming across one, they can see this guy, and he jumps the outside wall and takes off and goes in the swamp, and they end up finding him like 6 hours later or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't get any ideas, Dickie Dennis. Dickie's the one that climbed the fence at Richmond 2014.
Richmond, yeah, it's set up on the top.
That's right.
Yeah, have you talked to him?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's watching right now.
watching.
Yeah, and don't see not a full set of cards there.
We'll keep in touch.
Oh, so now we know your friend status. Okay. No, that was different.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it was cool. It was different.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah. No, Dickie's he's a great guy. One of my best friends.
Did you know him
I've
before
ever
that?
Said. Before that, no.
Okay.
I did not.
Okay.
I met him doing the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
He's just a really big race fan. I mean, he's the 4 car has been his big thing. Harvick.
Okay.
Fear the 4 is a Facebook
4.
page and.
Does he got the tattoo? Do you got the tattoo?
I'm not sure about that.
I don't think he does.
Okay.
Not
Well, I don't
that.
know, man. Those Harvick fans, they're crazy.
But he's Army. He served. So he's
Very
What
cool.
did he do in the Army,
he's
Dave?
not scared of. He was repelled out
There
of
you go.
helicopters.
I was
Jumped out
going
of
to see if you got it
helicopter.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have any fear. He
Evidently
of
not.
heights and stuff. So yeah, it was good.
Yeah, no, but Pocono was good, and the other day on Racer Reunion, one of the groups, they were talking about the. Go ahead.
Hey, Shauna.
Hello.
Hey there. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Good to hear from you again. I'm gonna be headed down to Daytona, so I'll have to send you a picture from the the ocean deck or whatever it is.
Ocean deck.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, we got Joe Dan Bailey in with us. Let's say hey to Joe Dan. Is it scratchy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. All right.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. There's something going on with the studio with our phone lines and the board here, and it makes it scratchy sounding, but that's okay. You'll be clear. It's just when I talk, it does that.
Well, I was kind of wanting to listen to Joe Dan talking before I chimed in or said hello.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is this Shauna Robinson?
Yes! What are you doing?
I'm on this radio show.
I know you are. That's why I called in, because I just wanted to say hello.
Okay, all right. Well, I see Jeff from time to time now, and with him doing the Yates engine stuff and everything, but I hadn't seen you in a long time. So are you doing all right?
I'm doing great. No, I just wanted to say how important you were in my career and in my life,
Oh,
and
well, thank you.
the things that you made accomplish with that crew that was definitely green as green could be. Like, those guys have all gone on to do great things.
Yeah,
And
they
we
have.
wouldn't have done that without your guidance. And
Well,
I'm telling you, I just saying it was good times.
Yeah.
Good times. And working for Cranifus and running a car that was one that you knew you could unload and be competitive.
Yeah, it was one of those deals. Those guys came in, and it was a full-time coaching job, but they were great and they wanted to work. And I think I don't know where a couple of them are, but I still keep in touch with
And
Blizzard and Tank.
I know Blizzard and Tank. I don't know if Blizzard's still at Childress, but Chris Buskell,
Yeah.
Tara, they have babies now, and just the things that just we did as a team. This is when you were a team, you guys, where you all got in the van and drove to the racetrack.
Yeah.
But that's what we did. We were like a team.
And that's what I told those kids. I told them, I said, you'll never have another deal that is as fun as your very first deal. And they've agreed with me. When I started out, me and Mark Conquest and Jeff Chandler over here at Dick Bears, that's a bond that you never get over. So it was cool to be part of that. It was cool. I think Shauna's was the first. What's the politically correct way you say it? Lady, female, whatever. Anyway, she's the first girl to set on the pole at in ARCA, right?
Yeah, in
Right.
ARCA.
Right.
No, in the Bush Series.
In the Bush Series. Well, I wasn't part of the
Yeah.
Bush Series, but yeah, we knocked Ryan Newman off the pole at Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan.
Yeah.
And that story, I don't know if you told it the way of that, we blew up in practice, remember?
Yeah.
And Penske just brought on Newman.
Right.
And Cranifus and Penske were still Mayfield, Cranifus, Penske Racing, Penske Cranifus. And we went and borrowed his backup motor. And I remember, Jodan, you and I went up, you drove me out to turn 3, and we sat there, and you're like, watch them. Just watch them. And then I got the pole at Michigan, out-qualified Ryan with his backup motor.
Yeah.
That we borrowed.
The whole story. Okay, let's tell the whole story here. So anyway, with that, we lost a motor that day. Okay, that morning, and right after we had set a good time in practice, and then we lost that engine. And I have these kids. It was the first race they ever went to with us. It was the first big race. And I've got 5 guys that have never been in that situation before. So I know we got a fast car, so we get this engine, and we're changing this engine. We're going at it, and these guys are under my direction. I'm in there digging hard as I can. We get the car out. We get it through inspection, get the new engine in, get it through inspection, goes out. She sets on the pole with it. Well, after she sets on the pole, then I'm coming back down pit road, and Matt Borland, which was Ryan Newman's crew chief, seen me, and he goes, look at those guys. He goes, all those kids are running around. They're all excited about setting on the pole. And goes, Jodan, it's not even really just bothering him. He's just walking down like as calm as can be. So I got about 3/4 down pit road, and I went ahead and sat down. And I came back to the hauler. My wife was there and our boys. And I said, you need to take me to the infield care center. So I got to the infield care center. And when I did, they thought I was having a heart attack. And they drove 18-gauge needle in my right arm, and anyway, pumped me full of fluids coming out. I was just dehydrated bad. Made me go take a heart test the next day. So I missed morning practice. The Cup team, the Penske Cup team, spent over their crew chief to do the practice for me and everything, and we were on the pole and all that. So with it, at the end of that day, Shauna said she felt a vibration in the car, or before the practice was over. So I got underneath the car. I got back to the track, got underneath the car, and I found the dust shield on the bell housing was loose. It had been cracked and loosed, and I thought it was just hanging down, and that's what she was feeling, the high-frequency movement. So I put a new dust shell on it. We go out and we start the race. She comes down to take the green flag. And transmission breaks. Vibration in the transmission. She lost second gear. Comes down pit road and comes down pit road. We change the transmission. This kid, Daniel Blizzard, he'd always bragging to me about how fast he was. I ran the Penn Nationals or whatever, some foot race that's big in high school, you know. So anyway, he's telling me about this all the time. So I'm underneath there. I tell him drop the pipes. I tell another one to get in, take the shifter off. I grab the transmission, and I literally pick the transmission and throw it over my head back over outside. I told Blizzard to run to the truck and get the backup transmission. We bring it, and we put it in. We change the transmission 17 laps under green, okay, which was pretty good for what I thought was pretty good. Oh, yeah. So we put her back out on the track. She's got the fastest car in the field, and plus she's got fresh tires. She goes out there, and she's running like Jack the Bear. We are just running faster than everybody. And but it's the Hoosier tires in ARCA, and people are starting to blow tires, blowing right front. So I told her, I said, if you even think you feel a vibration, you bring that car to pit road. Fast car, don't want to lose it anyway. So with that, she never felt nothing, went down into one, bottom of the track, flying, right front goes, right?
Yep.
She hit, and when she hit with the right front, you know, from the bottom of the track up there, no safer barriers or anything else, she hit. And when she hit, it loosened the belts up enough from the stretching and everything, but it bounced off the wall, came back down to the bottom, and went back up and hit a second time. Well, at that point, with the type of seats we had, we didn't have the wraparound seats or anything. She went forward, and when she went forward and came back, it broke her shoulder blade here.
Yep.
Okay. So anyway, I got a good memory on all this, right?
Yeah.
So with it, they airlift her out to the hospital, and we go out and we meet her. I pick up her husband Jeff, and we take him to the hospital and everything, and check on her and then all that. And like I said, I had my boys with me, and Shauna, no offense, but the scariest part of this whole weekend was whenever they thought I was having a heart attack. Both my boys were small. Daniel and Austin were small, and I'm laying on that gurney with the IV, and the doctors are all around me working and everything else. And I looked over and I seen my son's face, and he had that look of my dad's going to die, and I could read it in his eyes and stuff. And I asked him to get the kids out of there, but that scared me more than anything. Probably one of the inspirations of why I try to take care of myself, why I try to run now. So I can't do that. But that was probably the scariest thing I ever seen in my life, was the look on his face. So anyway, so we get to the hospital, back to the story. We get to the hospital, Shauna, and we drop Jeff off, and we do all that. So now we're going to go to Pocono the next week. Pocono's a shifting track, and the guys have decided, my upper management decided they're going to put Ed Barrier in it, correct?
Yeah, but I went to Al Shupert, who trains the Panthers, came and got, like, basically said, you get your butt here right now. And he said, I will have you turning the steering wheel before you leave. And I got in the Panthers training center, went in their, like, wave pool. They taped me up, I started that race. I didn't want to get out of the car. Michael made me get out of the car.
So she shows up, broken shoulder, okay? She shows up in the garage area. First thing she does is she walks up to me, and I think her arm might have still been in a sling. But she walks up, and she puts her arm out like this and goes, look, I can shift. I can do this. I can do this. And we're like, yeah, have a seat. Okay. So yeah, it was that was an adventure back before we had killed the car. I mean, put the right front tire into the firewall, killed the car. Lucky she didn't get hurt any more than what it was. The Hoosier Tire people, they definitely brought a competitive tire, but I mean, we buried Neil. We buried Baker, got his tumor off of it, his blood clot off of him. Rodney Orr died on Hoosier Tires. I'm not saying it was that. Maybe it was just a big coincidence, but the tire definitely had more than its share of failures. It wasn't. That was a different time in the sport. But anyway, yeah, good talking with you.
I know, so great to talk with you. And there's so many good memories. I just wanted to share that. And just like I said, the whole team vibe, everything about that is only good memories in my life. I mean, and, I went on to run, didn't really want to, just didn't really have an option to go in with them. And then we did run Daytona, but I'm just telling you, there's times that you remember that you're with good people. And I was glad to see all of those people go elsewhere and do good things.
Yep.
So just appreciate being a part of it, Jordan.
Well,
Thank you for believing in me.
Yeah, it was good times.
You were one of the crew chiefs that did.
We did everything we possibly could with what we had. We worked out the junkyard at Cranifus House. It was one of those deals. So we got ready to go to Atlanta, and Dr. Eric Warren had done all the research on the T-Bird, if I remember right. And there was $1 million body. We had worked on this body all year long. There was $1 million body out behind the Cranifus House building. And anyway, we had just ran Salem. We were getting ready to go to Atlanta. And when we got ready to go to Atlanta, the Salem chassis was a good chassis. It always responded well. I wanted it. But that body was out there, so I put that ARCA body, that developmental body basically, on this ARCA car, and we went down to Atlanta to test it. And that was when they had just changed the configuration, and they didn't have all the fences and all the poles up and everything. And I'm going to tell a bad story on you, Shauna. So anyway,
Oh, no.
Yeah. And anyway, so we're out there testing, and we're running real fast. And I tell her over the radio, I said, all right, now take it, bring it to the garage, take it over the pumps, let's fill it up, and we'll bring it back and check it out, So anyway, I'm walking up that way, and I see this $1 million body leaning off a 3-foot curb.
Yeah,
There was no markers. She came down into the garage area, took a right, and drove it right off this edge there. And
I couldn't see it. I didn't see it.
Right.
Yeah, thanks for sharing the bad stuff.
Well.
So,
So that's the closest I ever become to Tom Hanks. Okay, because
the ball. Yep.
Yeah. The whole thing where he's sitting there going, "There's no crying in baseball," and he's shaking like this, and he's ready to go strangle somebody. That was it. We went back and we had the race won, and I took the blame for that. I feel like I made a bad call. There were 6 cars left on the lead lap. You always remember the races you lost more than the races you win. There's 6 cars left.
We had that one won, though.
Hands down.
We had that one won.
8-second lead. Caution comes out late in the show, and I leave her out. And when I did, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and 6th got tires, and there was a 2-lap shootout on the throttle up. She spun the tires because they were old tires, trying to keep up with them, and I don't know, we finished 4th, 5th, or 6th, something like that, but had a race-winning car, and that's one of those calls that you want to keep back. But it was going to be a deal where, and it's stupid of me now. Now I've got enough experience now. I would have never made that call knowing Atlanta. But at that time there, I felt like whatever I did, the rest of the group was going to do the opposite. So if I would have came, they would have stayed out, and if I stayed out, they were going to come. So it was just one of those deals that I felt like I cost that race. But it was a good car, real good car.
Yeah. We definitely had a few of those. I felt like every time I went to a racetrack, we were going to be competitive, and we were.
Yep.
Every time.
Yep.
So I appreciate it. It's so good to talk to you.
Good to chat with
Thank
you.
you, Dave Ham, for letting me know that he was your guest tonight. I would love to listen to the whole show.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I sent you that link earlier, so you can keep watching if you want to.
Yeah, I'll go back and listen.
Yeah.
Dan, please tell your family I said hello, and
We'll do. This
very
is
good
definitely a
memories.
surprise guest.
Yeah, good. I wanted to surprise you, so he
There you go.
surprised Shauna. That was what we were wanting to do.
There you go.
accomplish.
You hit it.
Well, good.
Yeah. Good.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Good deal. Thank you for calling. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Take
Talk
care.
to you soon.
All right.
Always keep in touch, both of you.
We'll do that. I sure will. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Very good.
Yeah.
Shauna Robinson. Yeah.
That was definitely a surprise. Yeah, we doing that ARCA deal was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So my son works for Gibbs, and he works on the ARCA group down there now, and he's going to a lot of the tracks that I went to with that deal there. You know, the series has changed a lot, but when he goes to Berlin and places like that, it's really it's neat to hear him tell the stories about that, knowing that I went there a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and he's actually won at some races. I've won at the majority of the Cup tracks. I think there's very few that I haven't won at over my career or been part of wins. I haven't won crap. Okay, I've been part of wins.
I got you. Yes.
Yeah,
I
but
understand.
anyway, so he's won at some places that I haven't, and he actually won at Martinsville with. He was working for GMS, and he went out there with I think either Kyle or Chase Elliott. I couldn't think of the Elliott kid's name. But anyway, he won with one of those two there, and actually won at Martinsville before I did.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of neat with that.
Yeah,
so-
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's always good to hear from Shauna. She's one of those landmark, pioneers for the ladies in racing, and she go out there and whip the boys. Yeah, is your wife tuned in now? She go out there and show a few of the men how to drive and a few of the boys. And but before she came on the show, before I had a video of her in those big trucks, the big rigs that she used to race.
Yeah, she ran at Texas World Speedway.
That was cool stuff.
With that, her dad was the what was it called? Gator was the series.
Gator, that's it.
Yeah, and her dad organized that Gator series, and that's what brought her to fame.
Yeah, it
on
was
that.
just like this little girl out there racing. I mean, I say teenage girl or whatever, and then these big
She's
burly
small
men.
anyways, too.
Right.
So.
Yes.
Did you ever see those things race? The big trucks?
They're tough. I remember seeing them when I was younger. Yeah.
Yeah.
When they raced them.
Right. They were cool.
I was always impressed. My dad was a truck driver, so I was
yeah.
like, I really wanted to see those. Yeah.
So anyway, I was starting to talk about Pocono earlier about the Racing Union, talking about the antler guys. Remember the antler guys that used to be outside when you come in the every morning when we got to the racetrack, you turned down Long Pond Road and there was these two old guys, and they had these big chairs that sat out there, and they had these leather hats on, and with that they had antlers in them. And every morning when we came in, they would be out there. And it got to the point where we all would roll down our windows and yell at them, say, hey, and they'd all wave back. And it was just really cool as far as that. And they were there for years. And anyway, I'm trying to find a photo of them. Chris Hussey put this photo out there earlier so y'all can see this.
Man, he's always posting all kinds of
Yeah.
pictures.
So anyway,
Oh, yeah.
so these guys sat there for years. You could see the big hats.
Oh yeah.
So
How about that?
you know, when I started going back, you always miss the antler guys, right? But I remember I was working for the 3, and we come in the van one day, and Kirk Shelmerdine was our crew chief in '92, and rolls down the window because only one of them's out there, and these guys are backwood country rednecks. I mean, like you wouldn't believe. So anyway, Kirk goes, hey, where's your buddy? You know, that Philly accent he had. And the guy replies back, not missing a beat, just goes, he's dead. Okay.
Oh, God.
Yeah, no remorse or anything. It was right there. He's dead. And anyway, when I go up there now, I still look down that road and look where they sat, and wonder if there's any of their relatives down there, because they were part of Pocono folklore as much as anybody back in the 90s.
Yeah. Was that Pocono, or was it Watkins Glen, where they used to set a car on fire after it seemed like?
That was Watkins Glen.
Okay.
Yeah. That was the Watkins Glen infield. That place is incredible.
Yeah.
You know, talking about the infills, it's something else.
Talladega.
Yeah. You remember when?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And and it was before me, but you remember when Earnhardt crashed Bud Moore's car up there going into 2 at Pocono? So you go into 2, and then this before soft walls, and Jake Elder was his crew chief. You remember Jake?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Suitcase Jake.
Yeah. Jake was ornery. Okay, he mean. And anyway, so he's Earnhardt's crew chief. So Earnhardt, he buries a 15 car into the fence there. It goes up and flips. He climbs out, and he's sitting next to the car, and they bring the helicopter out. And he's telling this story later. And they had to medevac him out of there. Well, the helicopter was one of those old bubble helicopters that had the skids that the gurney was put on the skid, and they just kind of put a bubble over the person that was injured to take them over to Wilkesboro to get him to the hospital. So anyway, Earnhardt said, he goes, yeah, I was there, and they started stabilizing me, and I was going in and out and everything. And he goes, so they put me on this helicopter, and as I'm rising up through the clouds, I look, and I come to as I'm coming up through the clouds on this running board like this, and he goes, I guess I'm going to heaven. Okay. And then he said, yeah, and about 3 or 4 hours later, I woke up in the hospital, and there's Jake. And he goes, oh, I went to hell.
Yes.
So yeah, it was a lot of good Pocono memories. So I wanted to mention this also, because you were a Jackman, right?
Right.
So we're going to Richmond this weekend. Right, I'll actually be in Road America, because I go where the Xfinity cars. Whenever we go standalone, I have to go to the standalone event. But I got to tell a great story with the Jackman. Mm-hmm. Okay, so David R. Smith was our Jackman at Childress forever. Great Jackman. He was a part of the original Flying Aces. Him and Will Lynn and Kirk and all those guys. So anyway,
very good Christian man.
Great Christian man.
Yeah.
Me and him roommated together. That was my roommate on the road, was David. Mm-hmm. So anyway, with that, he got sick going into Richmond, and we needed a Jackman going in. This had to be about 94, I'm going to say. And anyway, they got this kid, a good Jackman, a big husky fella, by the name of, I think his name was Mike Moore. And anyway, so he come and jacked for us at Richmond, because David wasn't going to make the trip that weekend. So anyway, and he was jacking for lake speed, so wasn't used to running up front. So anyway, with that, he does pit stops, and he's doing really good. Well, about halfway through the race, on the overhead camera, got that camera, he comes around to the left side on the camera, and he reaches down after the stop. He reaches down, and he picks his glove up, and he looks at his hand, and he shakes his finger like that, and comes back across the wall. So what happened was, this kid went around, and when you put the jack in, you put your finger up on the top of the plate, okay? So whenever he hit his handle before he pulled his finger back, and it sheared the end of his finger off in between the jack and the jack stop.
Oh my gosh.
So he finished the stop, went back and picked up the end of his finger, okay, finished the right, went back and came over and did the lefts, went back, picked up the glove that had the end of his finger, right? So with that, he took and he said, you got to go to the infield care center, get it checked out. So the doctor in the care center said, all right, we can medevac you to the hospital and get the end of your finger put back on, or we could shoot you numb and you go back and finish. We had to stop meanwhile. We borrowed a Jackman from somebody else, because Mike was injured. And he said, he goes, I looked up at the scoreboard. I seen we was running third, and I'd never been that close to a win before. I told the doctor, I said, shoot it. So he shot it, stitched him up, sent him back out. He finished the race after shearing off the end of his finger.
Wow. That's tough.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So the long of that story was, Earnhardt found out, he said, anybody that'll give up a digit for me, give him a job. And Childress hired him, and he was a longtime Jackman after that over there. So, yeah.
Wow. Well, so David Smith didn't come back as a Jackman. He was a crew
David
chief.
Smith came back as a Jackman, but also that was about the time they went to the 2 cars.
Oh,
okay,
gotcha.
And there was more, more movement with that and everything.
Yeah.
So I think Mike started out as in the shop. I don't know.
Yeah.
I left there at the end of that year.
Okay.
And that was September. That was the the September race. So
Yeah.
I don't know where it went, but I know that Earnhardt said get him a job.
Okay.
That did that. So anyway, I figured you'd
Well,
appreciate that being a jack
I
man.
do, yes. And I was cringing over here too, thinking about that. But the 7 years that I did Xfinity and Cup, or not Xfinity, it was Busch Series and the Cup Series both, and for several of those years. And but I never got my fingers anywhere close to. I kept my fingers on the handle on the side of the jack,
Right.
and I just kept them like this. I didn't never go up there at all.
Yeah.
And then when I dropped the jack, I was careful. I was very careful about that.
I remember Barry pinched his one time. Barry Dodson did it when he was jacking.
Yeah.
But when they got to the low profile jacks and and everybody's running the stops long for they're running one stroke jacks and you're hitting it and it's going up real quick. That it wasn't. You had to have something holding it down, and that's where they were doing that. It was nasty.
Yeah.
But it shows the kind of dedication. It's funny, you got these NFL players that are making, $900 million or whatever, and they're sitting out on the sideline with turf toe, whatever that is. And here's a kid that, he's barely making the rent, and he's give me the shot and sew her up. We're going.
Yes.
It's kind of like Ronnie Lott at the 49ers or something.
Yeah. Oh, the worst I had was whenever I hurt my back at Darlington, and I was jack man for Robbie Gordon at that particular time. It was kind of in between the Joe Nemechek, Robbie Gordon 97 season when we did the flip flop.
Right.
And I was running around in front of the car, and I just twisted wrong, and my back just gave out.
Wow.
But I had to finish the stop, and you know how it is when your back gives out, you just want to fall down.
Yeah.
And I had to finish the race, so I started pumping ibuprofen. Our trainer happened to be there; he was stretching me, and man, that was the worst I had it.
Yeah, ibuprofen saved many a career. As far as just Advil. I think it was 90 at Dover. I was changing fronts, and they had the Armco steel guardrail, and I went out, and the hose looped and caught under the guardrail and put me right in the center of the hood when the car came in.
Oh.
So I got hit, knocked me up in there, that type of deal. It's not, it's different today, or they seem like they go higher today or whatever.
Right, yeah.
But anyway, you just got hit and you rolled off, finish your job.
Yes.
But anyway, it pinched nerve in between the 4 and 5 lumbar in my back, and I knew if I set out, I was going to be replaced.
Right.
I'd had my thumb broke, and when I did that, I was replaced for 6 weeks until I could rehab my hand back. So anyway, with that, you kept working.
Yep.
That was all you could do.
Like we were talking about before the show, you were telling Bryson that.
Yeah.
You could be replaced at any time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
It's a constant competition.
Constant competition, and so I would take 6 to 10 Advil before a race, and just to which it's not really that. That's 1,200 milligram ibuprofen. That's not bad.
Right. Yeah. So.
And do that before a race, and then in between stops, I'd lean over a stack of tires and kind of take the pressure off my back with my arms and my feet hanging down, and then loosen back up before the stop. And green flag stops or yellow flag stops were a little bit different, but green flag stops I could do that just to so the pinched nerve wouldn't make my left leg go numb.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was.
It seems to always be worse at the tracks that we had to drive to. It's like that 2 hours of driving would always just tense my back up enough to where when I started a pit stop, I knew I was going to have some hard times that day. I was going to have a sore back.
Yep.
For whatever reason.
Yeah. And but you had to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Because like I said, if you didn't.
That's why I don't drive. That's why I don't like driving.
Oh, whatever. You don't drive because
It's
you've
traumatic.
got an easy chauffeur.
Yeah, because she likes to drive everywhere we go,
Yeah.
just about. So
That's totally not 100% accurate.
So like when you go to Daytona, she's driving and you're over there napping?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do nap
Dang.
sometimes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
you
all
know,
the time.
Oh no, I will say I have drove him around as well. So I mean,
You have, yes.
yeah, trailer and everything.
Yes.
It's okay.
He says,
Yeah.
"Wake me up when we get to the Buc-ee's. Other than that, I'm sleeping." Right?
Yeah. He'll wake
Buc-ee's,
up, get on his
yes.
phone, play on his phone a little bit, and go
So
back
you're
to
serious?
sleep.
You drive him?
Everywhere.
Really? Okay.
Everywhere.
Listen,
Every
it's-
time we get in a
okay.
car,
Man.
I'm driving.
How much do you charge?
Yeah.
How much does she?
should.
Yeah, I ain't gonna say that.
Yeah.
All right, but
That's what you call a timeout
Yeah,
right there.
timeout.
Hey, it's commercial break.
Time out.
We don't talk money.
I
We don't talk money.
no. But it was like I tell people all the time whenever I'm taking another week's vacation or whatever from work, they're like, man, you get another week's vacation. I'm like, you know what? This is what, when you work hard, you get more time off. I know you don't understand that, but that's just the way it works. So that's what I tell her. When you work hard,
What do you tell me?
You need to rest. When you work hard, you need more rest.
Excuse me? I think you need to reevaluate
I'm just
that.
kidding. I was just kidding.
You
But
need
yeah,
to
work hard, play hard. I know, man. I can't help myself. Every show, just about.
Put the
it's usually-
shovel down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Put the shovel down.
No, the
Throttle
truth is I'm constantly telling him to take a break.
Yeah.
I'm constantly telling him to take a break.
Yeah.
I'm like, you need to rest.
Yeah.
Well, we're getting to do that next week. Y'all were talking about that. So I'm going to Road America this week. And on Monday, me and Tanya are going to Surf City for 4 days before I leave to go to Michigan. So, you know how it is when, you don't get a lot of vacation time. Working for Toyota, they're great. And they give me, I have a lot of vacation time accrued naturally. But we're actually using a little bit of it this year and getting to do that. So
Good for
while
you.
y'all are in Daytona, I'm going to Surf City for the first time ever.
Awesome.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, there's a question that came through from T-Chaps. He says, Joe Dan, what were some of the big differences you remember in how Kirk Shelmerdine and Andy Petrie, crew chief Dale, and set the car up or organize the crew?
Wow, that's a question I really don't want to answer.
He pleads the fifth.
Wow. First of all, both of them were cool to work with. Kirk was definitely a hands-on. Andy was a little bit more of a innovator. He had a lot of stuff that he brought to the table from the 33 that was unique ideals. I will say that. I'm not saying that there were. Well, both of them did. They could help rewrite the rule book for NASCAR. With that, it was two different deals because when Kirk was there, that was when we had the old rear steer cars, and the rear steer cars mean all the steering mechanisms behind the cross member, and you had the steering link went through the oil pan, so you had a bigger oil pan. So it was a different type of car. When Andy got there, Earnhardt finally committed to the front steer cars. And with that, the steering was in the front, so we had more engine because you know the difference in oil pan size, and the dry sump oil pan. So with that, they set up two different cars. The biggest thing about Earnhardt was, and Andy had to learn it, and Kirk knew it because of working with him, I think Larry McReynolds later struggled with it more, but everybody thinks Earnhardt loved a loose race car because he was outstanding. Earnhardt wanted a car that showed 5 degrees tight on the right front. He wanted just a tick on the tight side. When I say 5 degrees, we got tire sheets. And when you take your temperatures, if it was 215 on the right front and 210 on the right rear, then that was kind of what he was looking for. He was looking for something with a little security into it. The difference was that Dale Earnhardt, when it did get loose, when the track changed, when it was, and all of a sudden this car's loose or the setup's missed or whatever, he was the best ever at jumping up on the wheel and driving it loose. And that was what made him the difference. Okay, whenever it's easy for people to drive a well-handled car. When it's not working right, he could make it work. Yeah. Okay, we're at and you had to know Dale, and I think Kirk knew Dale a little bit better. We were at Bristol, and it was the Hoosier deal, and we're out there and we're practicing like 33rd, and Petrie's losing his mind because we're so slow. And Earnhardt comes over the radio and he goes, well, it's not getting in the corner good. It won't rotate the center. It's a little free off the corner. We need to keep it from rolling over a little bit better. The gas pedal's not in the right place. I need to adjust this headrest. That's about fast I'm going to go. And then we need to look at these tires and stuff. And when it was all done, Andy's like, okay, so we got to get this car tight and get there. And I said, Andy, did you hear what he said? And he goes, yeah, we got to do this and do this. And I said, no, he said, that's as fast as he's going to go. And I said, these guys are on Hoosiers, and that's as fast as you can go. And Andy thought about it for a second. He went, okay. So we made the adjustments that we needed to the car. And whenever the Hoosiers started going during the race, Earnhardt started 34th, 33rd, whatever it was, and drove to the front of the field. The Hoosier tires started falling off. They started having issues, whatever. He was on Goodyear's, hardcore Goodyear man, and rightfully so, great tire company. And with that, we won the race that day. And that was the whole thing. He knew how fast he needed to go to be successful. He knew what the deal was, and that's the difference.
Yeah.
You know, I'm telling a lot of these kids now, we always aim to seventh place finish. We wanted to average seventh place finish in the year. Back then, with the way the points were, if you averaged a seventh place finish, you were getting the trophy with one race to go. And we would, when we were racing Rusty in 93 and 94, you'd sit there and Rusty went out and he won 12 races that year. And I think we won 3, but we were, you know, 5th place, 6th place, 7th place to death, where Rusty would be leading it and something would happen. He'd blow a tire or whatever and end up 34th. And that's how we won championships, was 7th place finish average in that way. And that was all you really had to do at that point. And Kel Yarborough used to say, if you've got a 7th place car, and he told Jeremy this, Jeremy Mayfield, he said, if you got a 7th place car, drive it to 7th place. Don't try to take and win the race with it, make a mistake. Don't take that car and crash it trying to do something that car is not available to do. Run 7th in it, because 2 or 3 of those cars in front of you are going to try to do exactly what I just told you not to do, and they're going to make the mistake, and you're going to finish better than that 7th place.
How about that? That's smart.
And you see it. Josh Williams did it at New Hampshire a couple weeks ago. There was a lot of mistakes made in that race. Josh Williams ends up finishing 9th, 8th in that race, in a Busch race, with a car that's not an 8th place car. No offense to his stuff, but it's not. You know, he doesn't traditionally run there, and he didn't run a mistake-free race. Nobody runs a mistake-free race, but he limited the mistake. When a mistake happened, he didn't multiply it, you know, or amplify it if you want to, and he just ran as best as he could for as long as he could, and ended up with good results. And that's all you got to do. I mean, that's how you win point championships. Even in today, you might have the 16 guys. There might be a bunch of them that got that one-off win at a road course or a speedway or whatever. But when you look at the guys, the Martin Truexes that's leading the points, Corey Himes doing it in our truck right now. You know, just consistent, knocking them down. When Rusty was chasing us, we got towards the end of the year. There's like about 5 or 6 to go, and we're at Wilkesboro, and Rusty finished 3rd or 4th, and Earnhardt finished 1 spot behind him. And afterwards, Rusty said, and I'm not going to use the language Rusty said, but he goes, that damn Earnhardt, he's like anti-seize. You just can't get him off of you. Okay.
Hey, I was thinking about Josh Williams. That's who Bryson looks like.
Josh Williams, you think so?
I think so.
I think his hair might be a little longer than mine.
Yeah, I believe so.
He's got long hair. Yeah.
But before you got your
does.
haircut.
He's got the West Virginia waterfall.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's
Well,
it.
Bryson got a haircut, believe it or not. So
Yeah, it used to be pretty long. Back when it was really long, maybe about this time last year. That's probably about right.
Yeah.
They showed a video of it somewhere, and the wind was blowing, and it looked like they put it in slow motion, and he's just kind of shaking it in the wind.
He's
Could
picked
have been
up.
a shampoo commercial.
He's
He's picked up a lot of new
shoulders.
fans this year.
he has.
Yeah.
And he's done a really good job at, the whole Atlanta deal
Right.
with him. That
Right.
picked up a lot of publicity. And he's, I guess, from then on, he's gained a lot of fans. One of the things they do now is they make T-shirts for certain situations.
Right.
So I've seen a lot of, T-shirts based on that stuff, and that's how they build their popularity kind of deal.
Yeah.
So,
For sure. I want to say hey to our good friend Bill Blair. He had a birthday earlier this week.
He's actually watching the show.
Yeah. Hey, Bill Blair. Yeah. He usually does tune in, but his went to his first race in 1940. How about that? Yeah. His dad won in 1953.
Yeah, I recognize the name with that. So, yeah, that was one thing I want to say hey to a couple of my old friends from Alameda, Texas, Junior Keyworth and a guy by the name, we always called him Moon. Gilbert Shoppy. I heard they're watching the show tonight in Alameda.
Okay.
And they're a couple old guys. They would be like the guys with the antler hats where they just sit out there.
Country boys.
Yeah, they are. They're two true Texas gentlemen, I will say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Do you know if you're Texas? Well, speaking of them, and hey, y'all, thanks for watching. And do you know if you're Texas, if your ancestors came from North Carolina? Like Humpy Wheeler says that he told us a story about how they got him to play Tex in the movie Cars.
Right.
Yeah, because he had the accent just like they do in Texas, and he said that's because a lot of the people from North Carolina moved to Texas.
Well,
during the gold rush and whatever.
I think we're starting a vicious cycle. And my oldest sister did a Ancestry.com, and she did chase some of our back to North Carolina.
All right.
Yeah. And so my youngest son is a nurse, and at the beginning of last year, he moved back to Texas, and he's actually living about 5 miles from where I grew up in the same town now. He's a nurse there. Met a young lady that is a meteorologist, and anyway, so they're living there in Texas, so they're making another loop.
All right.
Yeah, and I think my daughter-in-law and her husband would move to Texas if they could just get the job at Buc-ee's.
Okay. How about that? Yes. You know what?
Buc-ee's
Speaking
doesn't
of
pay bad either to start out.
Oh, they pay great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Buc-ee's. Oh, Buc-ee's.
Buc-ee's,
Yes.
yeah.
I always want to say Busey's because that's what my buddy Scott says. Busey's. It's spelled like VUC
Right.
dash CE's.
You know, I've never been to Buc-ee's.
I've not either.
Never once.
I've got a mug my mom got me, but
Do ya?
I've never been to one. I'm going to go to one.
Yeah.
When I go down Daytona, probably.
Yeah. So that's
I guess.
one of my deals. When I get to the bus in the morning, I'll make me a coffee, and it's actually in a Buc-ee's mug.
Yeah.
And I've got to the point where I'll walk around because I hate the paper cups, and I'm always drinking coffee. So I have a coffee mug that I walk around the garage area with now. And
Is it
probably
Buc-ee's?
yeah, it's a Buc-ee's mug. Yeah, it's a beaver.
Okay. Beaver, yes. That's what it's got the little beaver on it. It's cute. Do we have a comment?
Not really.
I saw Jim Dooley's tuned in.
Oh, you want me to compliment you, huh? There you go.
You might as well read it. I mean,
Might
you
as
know.
well read it. He says, Jackman, tire changer, or harmonica player. We love them all. Great stories. He said, I forgot engine builder.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I love the Jabe Thomas shirt.
Yeah, man. How about that? J. Thomas.
That is awesome right there.
Ronnie Thomas got that
Ronnie.
for me. I texted Ronnie today, actually, and let's see. I asked him if he had any stories about you, but he said he had, he sent me this long text, and so I was going to siphon through it and read some of it, but
Oh, that is a massive text.
it is. I mean, look, yes, which is great. I mean, I always love talking to him, but
I can't believe he even knows who I am. To be honest with you.
He says Dan, the best I remember was coming in Cup when I was starting in the late model series, but I may be wrong on that. I knew his dad, and my dad raced with him as well as me. Dad started at Cup in 65, and I'm thinking HB was around 63.
Yeah.
Clyde Lynn, who raced for several years in the Cup, his race garage was also in the salvage yard in Christiansburg, half mile from my garage. So the Bailey's having one, and Clyde also having a salvage yard made me keep up with HB.
Right.
So one thing I'm pretty sure of is HB did it for the love of the sport and not for the money. I just think it's neat. My dad ran some races with him in the 60s and 70s, and I got to run with him in the late 70s through the middle 80s. Pretty neat. Joe Dan has sure done the Bailey family proud in NASCAR racing world. By the way, I only ran 3 of the 3 races in the later 80s. Okay. So, yeah, then we're getting into some more stuff. But he said HB was still driving a Pontiac. He said he was in the last Cup race that Ronnie ran was in the same race, June 25th, 1989, Michigan Miller High Life 400. And HB was still driving a Pontiac, LOL. There we go.
Yeah, I wonder if that was the one that Dale Jarrett ended up winning, because that
would have been in the Which car was Dale in that?
Dale was in the 21, if I remember right.
Okay.
And the pipes fell off my dad's car and brought out a caution, and then Dale ended up winning it because of the way the strategy works out.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, but Jabe Thomas, Cecil Gordon, Frank Warren, David Sisko, all those guys would do the they would barnstorm back then. You know, they'd hit 2 or 3 tracks. I was telling David about this earlier. So when they would come to Houston, Myers Speedway there in Houston, the Liberty Bell 300, and my dad would clear the shop out in his wrecking yard, and all those guys would unload their cars and work on them because you had to do maintenance on it. And then my dad would do a big barbecue. And what I wouldn't give for that photo of the 25 and the 24 and Frank Warren 79 and all that in my dad's shop, that would just be the coolest thing to have that, because it was different. Everybody helped each other out, and contributed and did everything they can, knowing that all they're Elmo was another one. Elmo Langley was there in '64, and anyway, it was cool to see that growing up as a kid.
Sure.
Probably what caused the curse in me for me to go into this. Being around my dads and being around those kids or those guys, and some of the influences there in Houston with Buzz Absher, this guy that helped my dad and was a big influence in my life. They called him Buzz. He went to Lamar University on a rodeo scholarship, and back in the '70s. And the best story I heard from him was he was in a bar one night, and Buzz was 6'9". Okay, and that
I was about to ask, was he the big guy, the tall guy?
Right, tall guy. So anyway, Buzz was in a bar one night, and this little guy come up to him and looked up at him and said, "Hey, how's the weather up there?" Buzz said, I looked down, I spit on his head and said, "It's raining up here. How's it doing up there?" And a fight broke out, if you can imagine that.
How about that?
Oh my gosh! Speaking of bars, you go down to Red Buffalo recently or anytime?
Well, we still have the Run Club.
Yeah.
Every Tuesday night at 6:30, we do the Run Club. Joe Resner, Jenny Smith, Mike Martin, a lot of those guys are regulars. They come each week. And we got a 3 mile and a 5 mile route that we run here in town, and then come back. And Joe Bondi and Darren down there at the Red Buffalo is awesome.
Yeah.
So I go down there every Tuesday and do a run. That's my joke. I can do a 9-minute mile in 11 minutes. Okay.
All right.
Anyway, it's fun this time of year. It's very hot, but I enjoy it a lot. And having those guys around, and that it's really cool.
I guess having a reward at the end of the run, it's kind of like got a beer waiting on me.
An incentive.
Yeah, it gives you more incentive to go do it. Yeah.
Well, it's a good and a bad, okay? Because first of all, they get a beer, but then they have to sit around with me, and I'm telling stories, and they're like, "Oh no, the old guy's telling stories again."
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I recycle stories. My kids. I think they just walk away shaking their head, because Daniel and Kaylee will come down there, and they'll get some in, and my wife Tanya, she'll come down and walk some with us and everything. We get up each morning at like this morning we was up at 4. Okay. Most times she's up about 3:30, and we'll do a couple miles around the neighborhood there, and then come back and do a workout before I go to F3 with that. So me and her. We try to stay in shape. She's 60 years old and is incredible. I outkicked the coverage there by a mile.
Oh, that's one thing I wanted to ask you, if you still got up at 4 a.m.
Yeah,
you said that.
Yep.
Awesome.
We still get up. Tracy Moore, one of our neighbors, she comes down, and normally I'll go to F3 on Mondays and Thursdays now. And that's something I've been doing also on the road. I've been going to some of the F3 groups around the states. I was in Boston a couple weeks ago and worked out there at Harvard University, Florence, South Carolina, in Texas, doing that. But anyway, Tracy and Tanya will get up, and we got kettlebells and weights and all that stuff, and do all kind of weightlifting and all that.
I was just thinking, Tracy, what do you think about get up at 4 a.m.? Let's go. We'll start doing that.
Yep.
I'm good, thank you.
We got a mat. You're more than welcome. Okay.
She is not a morning person, so
Yeah.
maybe if you said 4 p.m.
4 p.m. Yeah, yeah. Well,
Might
and
be more
that's
like it.
That's the hard part about it. Really, the when you're running out here at 6:30 in the evening, right now, it's like you said earlier, it's hot.
Yeah,
And,
humidity,
it's
hard
nice.
to breathe.
It's tough. It's like breathing through a wet rag.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's tough.
Right.
Yeah.
And the it's one of those deals that in the morning it's cool, but also we live out in the country, out towards Cool Spring, and you got to watch out for skunks.
Yeah.
I wear the headlamp, so you got to watch out for skunks. Oh, you were talking about David Smith earlier. So another great Pocono moment. And my buddy Joey Knuckles, this might touch him a little bit, but we ran New Hampshire the week before Pocono, and we were staying up at Aunt Bee's Maze Inn up there. I came out of my room, and I looked down at the pool, and Davey and Liz was out there playing with the kids down there. And, nobody really bothered them when we say hi, but walked on because of playing family time. You very, very seldom get family time when you're on the road. So I seen that, and that was, left, went to dinner. And then on Tuesday, Davey and Red crashed that helicopter. And Davey passed in the wreck. And anyway, so we go to Pocono the next week. And I'm working for the three, and we go and we win the race. Well, when we won the race, it was televised, but I don't know how it worked out this way. But anyway, David R. Smith, he keyed the mic and he said, "Come on, boys, let's go say a prayer." And in Pocono, the center of pit lane is a big checkered flag. And we went out and all of us took a knee. And I don't know how it worked out that way, but it was like the whole place went silent when we took a knee. David keyed the mic and said a prayer for Liz and the kids, Bobby, Judy, everybody, getting over that, recovery for Red and all that. And we said the prayer, and then we got up and left and went. The cool thing about it was so silent and so quiet and such a moment that maybe y'all have seen one, but I've never seen a photo of that moment. A moment at the racetrack. I guess they were going on commercial, didn't have the cameras on or whatever. But it was a moment at the racetrack where something like that happened, and we said a prayer, and nothing was captured about it. The photographers paid attention. The crowd paid attention. It was like, 70,000 people bowed their head at one time for the power of that.
And you've never seen a picture of it?
Nope.
Okay.
No, it was very cool.
I've not seen it.
Yeah, it's one of those hidden moments. And for 1994, for something like that to happen, these days you'd get a press release on it. But for it to happen, that was one of the special moments that happened on that week right there, because it was from the heart, and because those were friends, and that was the passing memory of watching Davey play with his kids in the pool with them. That was the last time that you seen them. As from my perspective. So yeah, it was
that's
definitely a cool moment. So.
Yeah, that's real tough. I was working at a dealership in Charlotte, working at Oldsmobile down there in Gowan off of South Boulevard, when I remember hearing it on the radio. I was listening to John Boy and Billy, and they started talking about it. So it was right before I got into racing. But yeah. They were a trip. They're always good.
Yeah, they had that guy on there. They had some Uncle Waldo or somebody. I can't think of the guy's name, but anyway, it was a character that they had on there. And when that was when Barry was hanging out with them, and we hung out with them a bunch and everything. And there was a club down in Charlotte, and it should be bringing up the past on them because nobody can remember this. But I was working for Bob Whitcomb Racing, and Barry was working for that. I think it was called Team 3 at that time. And anyway, John Boy was down at Plum Crazy and got busted.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, remember when? So on his picture of them taking him away, he's in an orange Bob Whitcomb Racing hat and a Team 3 shirt. And we're like, there's.
I guess I don't know.
Yeah,
I remember.
way to get represented.
Yeah, how about that? That's wild. How y'all doing?
Man.
Yes. Oh man.
Yeah.
There's a speaker outside too.
Huh?
There's
Oh,
a speaker
okay.
outside.
All
That's
right.
why I said hey.
All right. Yeah. So anyway, but John Boy and those guys, whenever when we first, they weren't as big as they are now, and they used to come around and hang around. They would do a live show from the shop or something like that. And, we'd call in on Mondays after a race and talk to them, and it was always cool. That was 90. I think we won 2 races that year. We won the 500. That was with Cope. We won the 500. We won Dover. Yeah. And Dover, it was Buddy Parrott on fronts, Brad paired on rears, and I was busting lefts. And at that time there, on the final stop, we were racing the 2 and the 25. The 25 was about to fall out of the seat. He's over there with his right arm on the petty bar, and it was the first time we ever ran Penske shocks at a lesson at, not Daytona type place. Bilsteins were being replaced by Penske, and we were the first ones to do it, and it was on Cope's car. So anyway, we busted off a 17.99 pit stop.
Wow.
Which was the first time anybody had been below 18 seconds. Mr. Hendrick told Schrader, he said, they only got 2. There's no way they did 4 tires that quick. And anyway, we beat him off pit road, and Derek's car was great, but he was smoking the right rear on corner exit because we were going that fast, and it was yawed out. It was smoking. And when we tried to slow him down, when Buddy tried to slow him down so he wouldn't smoke the tire, he'd lose him way too much time. So we just let him drive it like that. And he ended up going on and winning the race. And the terrible quote afterwards was Mark Martin and Alec Quickie both immediately switched to Penske shocks. We were the only ones running them at that time. And they said, if Derek Cope can win with those shocks, I got to have them.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the way it goes in racing, ain't it?
And Derek's a good friend of
yeah.
mine. It was just funny that they said it
Yes.
that way, but that was what they said.
Sure.
Derek's a cool guy, and we're very blessed to have a couple wins with him.
Bryson, you know what it means by busting lifts? So when I first started in racing the year before or so, I think around 94, it might have been the last year they did that, 94 or 95, where you had a guy that would take the lug nuts off the left side of the car.
Right.
Oh, I got you.
So whenever the tire changers come around,
they're already popped off.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You'd take the left front, you'd remove the 5 lug nuts off the left front, and then you'd go and you would change the left rear. The guy that was on the right rear would come around, grab your tire, and act the tire carrier. So the tire carrier, because we only had one tire carrier at that point, so he would come back and do this side, and then Brad would come back around and hang this side, and that way you had dual tire carriers on that side.
I got you.
Yeah,
That's a pretty good way to do it then.
yeah, and but we didn't have the guns with it, and we weren't college football players either.
Yeah.
We worked in the shop the whole time, and we didn't, work out like what those guys do now, and so it was a little different with that.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
Anyway, it was fun. We're at Martinsville. Used to have, when they first went back to the one guy carrying 2 tires, it scared me because in '90, Bryson, we're at Martinsville, and a guy by the name of Rick Latimer is carrying tires for us. I'm changing fronts. When I'm changing fronts, I come around to hit the right front, and as I set down, I see Rick come in this direction, and I see a car coming close, and all of a sudden I see one of the tires go flying that way. And, and I'm changing tires at this point, and I look, and my immediate thought was there was no body, so he's okay. It was just a tire.
Yeah.
And I knew that was a rear tire, so I knew I was all right. So he dropped my tire off, but somebody just cleaned him out when he came in and took the outside tire and shot it down pit road. And so they had to go back and get another tire. When I first went to work for over there at the 3, we'd come back with the car, and there would be a rubber mark up on the A post at the bottom of the A post here. Okay. And finally, I seen this each week, and it was at the same place. And I'm like, I asked Will Lynn, I said, why is that? What's going on here? Why is that rubber mark there? And he goes, well, he says, Earnhardt will turn in so tight that he'll hit the outside tire on the carrier just to knock him off balance. And that's where the rubber mark comes from each week. He doesn't hit him. He doesn't hurt him.
Yeah.
He just rubs up against, or how's he saying? I rub up against him a little bit. But anyway, he rubs up against the tire enough just to throw the guy off balance, just so he's not there.
like he ran over my foot one time.
You ran over your foot one time?
Yep. Yeah, when I jacked the car up and I come back, or I'll come back and jacked it up, and then my foot's out here and then right over it. It didn't hurt it, just barely went over it.
Just enough to knock you off, yeah.
That's it.
So there was a, now I wasn't there, but this is a story I heard before I got there. So anyway, Earnhardt's coming in the garage area, and he said something just fell off the car. He said, I don't know what happened, but something just fell off the car. I felt it under the tire. And sits there and goes on in. They check everything over. The car's just fine and all that other stuff. And you know how the garage area is. You run in and out and all that stuff. So anyway, can't find nothing loose on the car. Nothing fell off the car or anything. You know, they're like, you must have hit a bump or whatever. And he goes out and he does practice. He comes back and he's getting ready to qualify. And this guy comes up to him and goes, "Mr. Earnhardt, would you mind signing my CAS?" Well, Dale wasn't wanting to sign his CAS. He was like, "No, I'm not signing the CAS. I'll sign a card. I'll sign some of that stuff." But yeah. So anyway, and because Earnhardt was very accommodating with autographs, right? And the guy said, "Well, it would really mean a lot for you to sign this CAS, considering when you hit me, that I had to go to the hospital and get it." He goes, "Because I didn't hit you." He goes, "Yeah, you run over me earlier in the garage area and just nipped my foot, and I had to go to the hospital, and they said it and everything else." So come to find out, he ended up signing the CAS, and still didn't admit up to it, but with that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe he set him up, like he said, "All right, I'll sign your CAS, and you can come over, hang out with me sometime."
Yeah.
Whatever, because for that.
All right. So, do you remember when Earnhardt were at Watkins Glen, and he got caught at the end of the race? We got beat, and he was notorious for telling Teresa with 3 to go, fire up the car. Okay, because he knew he wasn't going to win, so he'd tell her to fire up the car, get the air conditioner going, everything in it. Because whenever he got out of there, he got out, right?
Oh yeah.
So anyway, with that, he goes to the end of the front straightaway. They drop the rag, they drop the checker. He goes into the front straightaway, spins the car around, and comes back up pit lane. Runs through there, ends up, I think he might have hit a security guard, something like that. It was somebody like that, and jumped out of his car, jumped into his rent-a-car, and left. Got out of there. Well, the media took it as Earnhardt's mad. He's pissed off because he got beat. He's being a bad sport and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
So he gets in his car. He goes to his plane. He flies home. He's just bought a new jet. He flies home. He gets home. He goes over. He picks up the phone. He called Bill France Jr., and he says, "Beat you." The bet. Who could get home faster after the race? Okay.
How about that?
That was the whole deal. And ended up buying the security guard. They said that he sent him a truck from the dealership over here because he felt bad about it.
I remember being at Martinsville, and it was a rain delay, and we were trying to figure out if we were going to actually finish the race or what was going on. And then the next thing you know, we're just kind of all standing around. But I see Earnhardt in his leather jacket and his jeans, and he's ready to cross the track.
Yep.
Because you had to cross the track back then.
Yep.
And we were like, okay, I started putting stuff away.
That's right.
We didn't even touch our pit box and all that because we just didn't know. But whenever we saw him, that's it.
It got to the point where you would watch the side of the NASCAR trailer, and when you see an Earnhardt come out of the side door, you knew we were done.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
That was we're at Darlington, and it had been raining. They dried the track, and Earnhardt was first 2 rows. I can't remember for sure. And he, Childress comes over the radio and says, "Hey, I want you to go out and run a couple laps, see if the track's dry." They're running around pace lap, making sure it's dry before they drop the rag. So anyway, Earnhardt goes out. He runs a couple laps. And about the time this voice that I've never heard before comes over the radio and he goes, "Hey, Dale, this is Captain Jack. What's the track like?" Because Bill France was on our, because he listened to everybody. But at that time, we didn't realize that everybody listened.
Yeah.
And anyway, he'd come over the radio to ask him if the track was dry or not. And sure enough, Dale said, "Yeah, it's ready to go. We're ready to go." So they were able to go and race. But it blew my mind at that point that, NASCAR, not only NASCAR, but France is listening to him and actually comes on and asking for it. And that's who requested it in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
To do that.
Whenever we lost Earnhardt, we lost a lot in the sport. I mean, obviously. But that was the,
Yeah, what a guy. And people don't realize how cool he was. I mean, back then everybody hated him because he won, he roughed up their favorite driver, whatever else. And then when he started not winning, everybody loved him. And then when he died, it was the next level. But so Petrie flew with him somewhere and left the briefcase on the plane. Petrie left his briefcase on the plane. So Andy asked me, he goes, "Hey, Dale's going to come by and drop the briefcase off because my house, I was living down Troutman off Perth Road, and that's from Statesville Airport out to the farm. He had to go right by. He said, Dell's going to stop by and drop off my briefcase, bring it into work with me tomorrow morning. I said, sure, not a problem. So it's me and Tanya, and we're sitting there and hanging out in the living room. We got a small house down on Perth Road, and Daniel was born. Maybe he's probably 1 or 2, something like that. I'd say 2. He's out toddling around. And with that, we're sitting there, and all of a sudden the front door just flies open, and he yells. It's Earnhardt trying to scare us. Okay? Yeah, he's a great practical joker. But with that, he said, all right, here's Andy's briefcase and all that stuff. About the time he grabbed me up around how you put that shoulder around there, and he whispered over my ear. And it was a stick-built home, had a door, and it had 2 windows on each side, like that. And he whispered in my ear, he said, hey, boy, that little girl's here every weekend while you're gone. She's got that baby. You need to get a better security system. You need to get a lock on this door. You need to take care of your family, boy. And I said, yes, sir. He talked to you like he was your dad. He cared, and I always appreciated that. He was as down to earth, and I don't think he ever forgot where he came from. Yeah. Anyway, it was a cool guy and a cool moment for him to take the time to think about that, and think about my family like that. We were. I always tell this story because Dale Earnhardt and Kyle Busch are 2 of the greatest guys I ever worked for as far as people and drivers. So anyway, Dale, me and him was driving down the road through Troutman. I don't know why I was riding with him. We might have been going to Rockingham or something. And we were talking about how my dad always drove Pontiacs. And, he told me, I said, how it was back then, you gotta deal with somebody and you're loyal to them and everything else. He said, no, my dad would drive anything that let him win a race. And I said, all right, well, that's okay. And he goes, and we were talking about the different drivers and stuff and how some of them look at themselves, as put them on a pedestal. And Earnhardt told me, he goes, and I'll never forget this, and I've told this story to my friends a million times, with that he goes, let me tell you, those guys are nothing more than me and you. He goes, they put their pants on one leg at a time just like me and you do. And I sat there and I thought about it for a second, because what it was here's the greatest race car driver ever, and he's going, me and you, like, he's normal like I am when he's, everybody looks at that. And that always struck a chord with me of no matter what you do, no matter how much money you got, no matter what you have in life, you're just a normal guy, put their pants on one leg at a time, like everybody else. And a lot of these people don't realize it, whether they're football players or basketball players or whatever their deal is, racers or however. Yeah. When you hear a guy like that to tell you that, it's a moment. Sure. A moment of realization of yep. It don't matter where we're at. We all got slapped on the ass by a doctor when we came in it, and we're going to get put in the ground when it's all said and done. Excuse my language.
That's pretty good.
That's very true, too.
Yeah.
That's like death and taxes, but that's a true statement as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Paul Rodriguez said they were in Pocono this morning, so they went up there to race. Know that. So, and he said they're staying in Virginia now, crossing the Stonewall Jackson House. That's interesting. I love the history. So that'd be a cool thing to see.
Have you been to Richmond lately?
Not since. Well, we went to Hopewell. We went up there and visited Dickie whenever we were on our way back from Williamsburg.
That's a fence guy.
Yeah, the fence guy.
Okay, all right.
Fence climber. Yep.
Yeah.
And so we were near Richmond. I haven't been to Richmond. My son went a little while back, and I told him there used to be a lot more monuments and stuff around. Yeah. But I've heard a lot of them's gone.
They really redid down by the road that has the cobblestone road.
Yeah.
I can't think the name of it right now. But that area down there is park and running trails and everything. It's a great area to run in. It's one of those areas that run down and now they've built it back up. A lot of apartments there, and that's one thing. For myself, I go from February 18th all the way to November 4th. I have one off weekend in there, which is June 18th. So when I travel, and and I try to run different places, and try to go out and see different things. I burned out in mid '90s because I was just, all it was airport, hotel, racetrack, airport. And that was it. You didn't see anything. So I made it a point to try to go and do stuff. And just like Boston a couple weeks ago, going to Harvard Stadium and doing that. In Dallas, my sister, when she lived up there, we went to Daley Plaza and seen where the President Kennedy was assassinated, and just kind of doing stuff like that. And so that's cool that you get to do that. When you go to cities, this weekend I'm in Road America. Okay. Cool area, Elkhart Lake. We were there last year, and they had the 4th of July for the 4th of July race. But the biggest thing come out of Elkhart Lake, you'd love this, is where we stay is in the town of Kohler, like the bathroom fixtures and stuff like that. So a couple of years back, I told my wife that we were going to redo the bathroom. So when you stay in Kohler, the hotel there has all Kohler fixtures in it. So I came back and redid my shower that has 3 heads up here and another one there and a squirter over here and everything else, just based off of that. So you get a lot of experiences when you go out on the road and seeing different things and staying in cool places like that. So I don't know, we're going to Road America. Whenever, and me being the senior engineer for Xfinity and truck, whenever we separate like this, like a couple weeks ago, the Cup cars were in Atlanta. I went to Mid-Ohio with the trucks. Corey Heim won the first time I'd won at Mid-Ohio. So when we go there, we work with all the OEMs have photographers out on the course. So where, David, when me and you started, it was about changing the gear in 7 minutes. It was about, fast spring changes and all that stuff. Now I've evolved into the point where now I'm more worried about the bandwidth and where the signal is and how we're able to get a line of sight antenna set up, and where we can get photos back to the teams and everything. So that's my challenge this weekend at Road America, to get the photos set up for that.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah, it's a different world these days.
Sure. Yeah.
But during the race, you're sitting there, and like this past weekend at New Hampshire, Pocono.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Now, come on, man.
I'm sorry, man. I got to get on top of it.
Stick on the ice.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, with as much carnage was up there, especially with what's going on with the restarts and everything now, everybody's wanting a shot of their left front fender, a shot of the right rear corner, what the right side looks like to see if they need to pit for damage or not. Wes Ward gives a credit for Todd Gilliland's win at Martinsville was a couple of years back. You remember when Todd won at Martinsville in the truck? So anyway, they had a red flag close to the end of the race, and the red flag was for a wreck. And with it, we were able to send the photographer over to get photos of the right side of the truck because the crew couldn't see them. And at that point, we seen that the tires had the fenders on them. So he came in, when it went back yellow, he came in out of sequence, got tires on when nobody else did. And Wes said that, because Wes was a crew chief and won the race with it, he said we wouldn't have come if it wasn't for those photos.
Oh, how about that?
We would have stayed out. He gave the credit for having fresh tires with that.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a good trick.
It's a different point of view or different importance on what we do now, but it's still cool to be part of it.
For sure.
It's I don't know, I guess started doing this in 77 at Texas World with up there and changed tires first time in 79, and to still be doing it this long.
Yeah, you've seen a lot of changes through the years, and you're still doing it.
I'm not saying I'm old, but Ben Hur was a hell of a driver.
Yeah. That's what I used to joke around with Nick Ramey. He said, I was a jack man. I said, well, Ben Hur racing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Of course, no disrespect, man. He's a great guy, but it's still funny.
Does he still work there?
No, he doesn't.
Oh, he doesn't?
No.
I didn't know.
He retired, but he's still building engines, so he didn't really retire. He'll never retire. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just kind of, does his own thing.
I can't imagine retiring. Me and Tanya talk about that, and it's like I said earlier, I feel like it's the first step of death.
Yeah.
Of retiring. I had a buddy of mine last year when I went home for the high school reunion, and he was in bad health, and I went out and seen him, and he had just retired from 35 years from Houston Lightning Power, and great wife, granddaughter, daughter, the whole deal. Retires less than a year. I get the phone call when I'm in Phoenix in November that Darren had passed, and like a month later, and that was just it. 35 years in the saddle, and then he takes a break, and there you go.
That's it. You got to stay busy, I think.
Yep.
Just keep on trucking, keep on doing what you enjoy doing,
Absolutely.
and make sure you have fun doing it. Just and if you don't, then do something else.
I told my boss that. I said I told him I wanted to go at least till 2027. Okay. I'd be on pit road till 2027. And I told him, I said, and if I lose my passion before then, I'll let you know. Because anybody that does it has to have the passion and the love for it. You know how it is. It's demanding. Well, Tracy, you know how it is. You gave him up.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, Tanya's raised my kids all the way through by herself while I've done it. Like I said, exceptionally strong woman, and you got to have the passion to do it. And when I said the passion, me and Mark Conquest has talked about this before, of you remember the races that you lose better than the races that you win, because it pisses you off so much to lose, and the win is just like a bonus, Yeah. And that's Cranifus taught me my favorite question, and I ask kids this all the time. And the number one question in racing for me is why? Just simple as that. Why? We lost. Why? We won. Why? Okay. And you can sit there and you can go back and revisit everything that you've done. Most of the time, you're going to find that answer in the mirror. You're not going to find it by pointing fingers at anybody else. You're going to find what you did wrong. But if you can explain why you lost, you can eliminate losing like that again. And if you can figure out why you won, then you can repeat it. Until you understand why you won, you're not going to be able to repeat it that easy. Until you figure out why you lost, you're not going to be able to eliminate losing it the same way. And I approach that in everything. And I tell my boys that,
That's a good lesson.
Figure out why.
Yeah,
and Cranifus was he was a worldwide leader of Ford. Actually brought Bill out of Dawsonville, and when George brought Bill and his brothers out, Ernie and Dan, Cranifus had the new Thunderbird design. Those guys were running good. I mean, they went down to Darlington, made first round qualifying, and put a cover on their car and never opened it back up until the last practice because they weren't used to running like that. And anyway, the old box T-Bird, that 81 T-Bird or whatever it was an old box car. It looked terrible. And then they built that new T-Bird, and Cranifus really took Bill under his wing and helped him with that. And they were longtime friends. And when Casey got sick, I know Michael and Jerry Glanville actually helped him a lot, being from Georgia area.
Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, he was Houston Oilers first. The Houston Oilers were undefeated last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they didn't lose a game.
Yeah.
That's football, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I still have Oiler T-shirts.
Yes.
I think you can still buy some of those online too. I think
Yeah.
they've a lot of teams are kind of going back to that, where a lot of the throwback stuff is kind of a lot of people like to do that now, but I guess they went to Tennessee, but I saw an Oilers shirt. I guess it was an advertisement on like Facebook or something, but I was like, that's interesting. That'd be something kind of cool to have, But yeah.
Yeah. So we had seats 6 rows up in the Astrodome. Used to go to the Oilers games all the time.
Man.
And then, so Bum Phillips was a long-time coach there. Okay, well, to coach him a couple of AFC playoffs against Pittsburgh, and with that, and Bud Adams was the owner. And Bud Adams Bum got so popular that Bud Adams ended up firing him after the second AFC championship game that they lost. And it was funny because we said Bud Adams was so jealous that the year that when Bum died, it was almost like a year later, Bud Adams died. He was just worried Bum was getting credit up in heaven. He was going up there to get some of it.
How about that? Yes.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So
Morbid death joke.
I got to ask you, if you're as an Oilers fan, what do you do when do you go to Tennessee and pull for the Titans, or you stay in Houston? You go to
I was very fortunate with that. Okay. So even after I moved up here, my dad would send me and Tanya tickets, and we would fly home to Oiler games.
Okay.
So I still was an Oiler fan forever. When the Oilers went to Tennessee, I wasn't a diehard fan, mainly because of the simple fact I was racing, and didn't really have time
hard
for
to
it.
follow.
Yeah, and then when and I hate the Cowboys because growing up, six rows up in the Astrodome, and little kid, the Oilers were terrible back then, and everybody loved the Cowboys, Staubach, and all that. And anyway, so I hated the Cowboys because of that, because I was an Oiler fan, and even living in Houston, they were there. So anyway, when they went to Tennessee, I was working, and I didn't really pay attention to them. And then in '94, when Mr. Richardson got the Panthers here, I signed up for that and love the Panthers. And,
there you go.
And yeah, so this is my home town I grew up in Pearland, Alameda, where I was born. I love those towns and everything. But man, I've been in Statesville since '85. Yeah. I've watched it change, and I love this town. And I'm here.
No, I just ask you because I've been born and raised a Washington Redskins fans.
Right.
So I share your hatred for the Dallas Cowboys, and that's just something I've been raised.
It's not hard to hate them.
Huh?
Not hard to hate
It's
them.
not, and my dad and everybody's always told me is you either around here, when he was growing up and everything, you either had the Redskins or you had the Cowboys. Those were the two teams that were on TV pretty regularly. So luckily, we became Redskins fans. But I wondered because now the Redskins have you have the same organization or whatever, but they're no longer the Redskins. So there's a little bit of change in culture and stuff. It's different. It's kind of harder to follow just because that heritage is not what you grew up on. I guess is not always there.
Yeah.
So I'm always interested with because I compare it to that a little bit. The change of the Oilers and the rebrand and stuff.
Right. Well, and I'm not happy that they're wearing the Oilers uniforms this year. That's wrong.
Oh yeah.
They're wearing a throwback Oilers uniform, and they're not the Oilers.
Yeah.
Okay. There is no Oilers.
Right.
They're gone.
Yeah.
We grew up 5 miles south of the Astrodome in a little town called Alameda, and then Pearland. Alameda's close enough that I could go on my roof as a kid and watch the fireworks going off over at the amusement park right there, where the dome was. So for me to go over to the dome and watch J.R. Richard and Mike Scott and Nolan Ryan pitch on $5 tickets was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and
you don't hear about that anymore.
No, yeah, $5 tickets.
$5 tickets.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a lot of fun, and my son that's down there now, he's amazed by all the Astros fans and how much it comes up in a conversation. And I said, well, in Texas, the little town I grew up in, Pearland had 2 football teams. It had the Texans. When I say football teams, I'm talking about Pee Wee football. It was the Texans and the Roughnecks. And when you were little, you either inherited or they put the jersey in your crib at that point of which team you were going to play for through till you got to middle school ball, junior high football. And then we had like 8 teams in junior high where you played like that. And then you went to high school. And high school football down there is just as big as college football. Friday and Saturday night, you're going to have packed stadiums with that, but Sunday trumps it all. High school football and college football down there is kind of like the basketball is up here, where the love-hate between Carolina and Duke, and the rest of them are all afterthoughts, really. And it's the same way down there. You're either a Aggie from A&M or you're a T-Sipper from Texas University. And I said that right, not the other way. Anyway, so, and that's the options. And a lot of people went to, I got a friend of mine, class president, I think Keith Shepard, I think he went to Baylor, and some of the other guys went to some different schools. But yeah, football is life down there.
Yeah.
Where you see these television shows talking about it, that's not an exaggeration. It's the way sports are here. Mm-hmm. When I was in Boston a couple weeks ago doing for the workout in the morning, we had to do for time when you do a break. They said, all right, 12th man, I'm named 12th man. That's my call sign. And anyway, I said, all right, 12th man, give us a 10 count. So I gave him a 10 count, which he's counting down. You go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, Earnhardt, 2, 1. Okay, so that's why they teach them to count in Kannapolis.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's no 3, it's just
Right.
Earnhardt.
There you go.
Yeah, 3 for Dale.
Yeah, 3 for
Right.
Dale.
Yeah, Highway 3. Highway 3 used to be 136. You remember
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Back in the day. Well, Joe Dan, thanks so much for coming on, and I'd like to see you come back in here anytime you want to come, because you're locally, but I know you travel a lot too. But we're here right now. We're doing every other Monday, so we're going to do that probably through the summer, just to kind of and because we're pretty busy. But I want to thank you for coming on and hanging out with us.
Well, I know I dominated the conversation.
That's good.
Sorry about that. I talk
Shows
a lot.
about
No, it's been good.
We got plenty of time to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we
and
got-
thank you for having me on. I appreciate it as always. And next time you do it, if your callers will, or your watchers, viewers, will give some questions or got a specific track they want to talk about, I got stories about just about everything.
Yeah.
Drivers, and most of them I can either talk about or I can put an alias on it.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. Well,
and tracks.
And speaking of that, so you can go back and watch the comments that are coming on, and you can go on to the video. And if anybody has a question for, you can go on there and put the question after the video ends.
Yeah.
There'll be the comment section, and you can go on there. This comment, what is it called? The live chat will go off, but you can still see them.
Okay.
You can still go back and look at them, and then comment on the video, and he'll respond. So there, because you got you're text savvy with all this stuff and
Yeah.
YouTube and all. So
Yeah. Yeah.
can do that.
Absolutely. I enjoy it and try to. Mm-hmm. I should have had it up here, but I knew if I did, it ended up coming like watching the monitor on the racetrack. You're sitting there paying attention to this instead of that, and it gets you a distraction, so you're not able to. And my ADD will. Yeah, would have blown me out of the water there.
I've had to really try to let Tracy take care of that stuff.
Yeah.
But I still can't help myself about looking. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So do you have a long stick over there? Is that what you use that flag for?
Oh,
You just
my gosh,
pop him in
yes.
the head
Yep.
every now and then?
No, I just give him the evil eye.
Oh, the evil eye.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She's got that.
That's a powerful thing.
She's got that down pat.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank y'all so much for tuning in, and we will see y'all in a couple of weeks. Have a great week.
Thanks, man.
Real Country 550 and 92.9 W